This is an excerpt from the video Encyclopedia of Pool Practice, a 5 DVD series covering over 175 drills and challenges in 30 different categories. This clip is from Disc 5, which covers all of the topics shown here. This section presents drills that help you improve and rate specific skills. Let's start with safety play. On Disc 3, we presented a collection of drills you can use to develop and improve your safety skills. This challenge drill is a fun way to test how much those drills have helped. Your goal is to play a safety on every shot. You can play against an opponent, or you can play against yourself. If your opponent, or second self, fails to hit a legal shot after a safety, you get a point. Jump shots are not allowed because we want to practice other types of safety escapes. Begin the drill with a 9-ball break shot. If you pocket a ball, you have the option of playing the first safe or making your opponent shoot first. If you don't make a ball, your opponent has the option. Bob made a ball and has a good look at the one, so he elects to go first. Before we describe and show each shot, pause the video and think about how you would play the safety yourself. This is good mental practice. Here, Bob plans to leave the cue ball on the end rail and try to leave the one ball in the middle of the table where it is tougher to hit.
Oops.
Unfortunately for him, he pockets the ball. That's allowed, and sometimes it can be to your advantage in this game, but here he left me a good look at the 2-ball. I decide to send the 2-ball past the 7 in the center of the table and try to lock up the cue ball against the 8. I was a little off, but I still managed to hide the 2-ball fairly well. Although, against Bob, you generally need to do better than this. Here, Bob decides to kick off the more distant end rail, so he has a decent chance to separate the cue ball in two. This clip is from Disc 5, which covers That was fairly close to what he wanted, but I do have a look at the 2. Here I plan to send the 2-ball up table and snooker the cue ball behind the 4. Unfortunately, I came up a little short and left Bob with a fairly easy chance to lock me up behind the 9. Well, he didn't tie me up as well as he wanted, but that's still a fairly effective safety. Here, the easiest approach is a 1-rail kick, and if I hit the 2-ball fairly solid, but slightly on the right side, I can separate the balls and maybe hide something. Here, I'm finding the mirror image of the desired ghost ball to find my line of aim for a firm, equal angle kick. Well, I hit a little too much of the 2, otherwise I might have hidden the 2 behind the 3 or 4. With no points scored so far, you might think this is a boring challenge, but we're getting good practice with safety strategy and execution. Here, Bob decides to send the 2-ball up table and hide the cue ball behind the 4 or 7. That was a nice shot, but I like swerve shots, and I've practiced the Masse drills on Disc 4. So I decide to go rail first and thin the 2-ball to leave it close to the corner and try to get the cue ball down table to hide behind the 3 or 7. That was close, but I hit a little too much of the 2-ball. However, I still got a good hit even though I pocketed the ball, and we both still remained scoreless. But now Bob can really tie me up. Here I'm using the corner 5 system from Disc 4 to find a line of aim to kick 2 rails at the 3. I'd like to thin the 3 and leave it at this end of the table, sending the cue ball to the other end of the table, hopefully behind the 7. Unfortunately, the 9-ball interferes with the natural path, so I decide instead to adjust the line and use more speed to come up above the 9 and try to hit the 3-ball on the top side to try to get it down table. Unfortunately, I used far too much speed and failed to hit the 3 first, so that's a point for Bob. Once you get the first point, the power of ball in hand makes it easy to get additional points. Here, Bob will try to freeze the 3 ball on the back of the 9 and freeze the cue ball on the front of the 8, making it extremely difficult for me to get a hit on the next shot. Well, that's not as deadly as he wanted, but it still managed to snooker me fairly well. Here I'm finding the mirror aim relative to the diamonds for a rolling cue ball kick. I want to hit the 3 ball fairly fully, but slightly on the outside to send it past the 9 and hopefully hide the cue ball behind the 9. Well, I went a tad too long on that one. Now Bob has a good opportunity to bank the 3 into the 6, keeping it at this end of the table, and sending the cue ball down table behind the 4 and 7.
Oh dear.
Well, that didn't turn out so well. Here I decide to bank the 4 across table, hopefully behind the 8, and send the cue ball off 2 rails with right English to get behind the 6. Just a little slower and that would have been a very good safety. Here, Bob decides to go off the end rail with left English to get a full hit on the 4, sending it up table, hopefully hiding the cue ball behind the 8. The 4 ball is frozen to the cushion, so he needs to drive one of the balls to a cushion after the hit.
No.
Unfortunately, he didn't get either ball to a cushion, so that's a foul, giving me a point. Continue the game until it becomes too difficult to score points, for example if there are too few balls left on the table. In that case, just break a fresh rack and continue. Bob actually scored a couple of additional points on me later, but I didn't want to bore the viewing audience with such details. The next time you want to work on your safety game, but don't want to do boring solitaire drills, find a friend and try this 9-ball safety challenge. For more information on the entire VEPP series, visit dr-dave-billiards.com. There, you can view video highlights and complete lists of drills from all 5 discs. You can also find information about the Video Encyclopedia of Pool Shots series. If you haven't seen the entire VEPPs series yet, you should check it out. The Pool Shots series complements the Pool Practice series quite well.